Time now to talk about our ISO images, how to download them, what are the minimum and recommended system requirements, and how to create our virtual machines. First, let us take a look to this picture. And as you see here, we have actually the recommendation for Windows Server 2008, 2012 R2, and 2016. If you set your virtual machine to minimum requirement, then maybe you fail installing a new operating system on it. And the reason because it needs more resources. So here, as you see in this note, what you can do actually, you can set more resources to your machine. Then once you install it, you just drop it back to the minimum requirement, and by this you are going to solve the problem. So these are the requirements. I'm going to download my 2008 and other ISO images. As you see here in the website, in the download center on this link, as you see it above here, you can get your 2008 R2 evaluation for 6 months. And in evaluation center, here you can get download both 2016 and 2012 R2. Time now to just go and create our virtual machines to see how to create them with the minimum settings we need. So this is my Hyper-V, and in this system actually I have 24 gigabyte of RAM. So let us see our system. We'll go now with new, and we are going of course to create a virtual machine. So here as you see, this is your wizard and you will get your welcome screen. We'll go to next. Here you are going to call this one, and I'm going to call it 2008 R2, and I will just add to its source. Later we are going to talk why do I call it as a source. Here it's going to tell you where do you store your virtual machine. So make sure to put your virtual machine on your empty hard disk. Go to next. Now in the next screen, as you see, we have both generation 1 and generation 2. Generation 2 is a new feature for Hyper-V. Later we will talk about it in details once we go with Hyper-V Manager section. But for now, we'll just stick with generation 1. So go to generation 1 now. Then ask me about the RAM. The RAM I'm going to say 2048. And it asks me if I want to use a dynamic RAM. For now, I'm not going to use that. Later, again, we're going to explain those, let us say, advanced settings and what is the benefit of them. For now, it is a static RAM, which means it's going to take it from the original RAM in my physical hardware. Go to next. Now, for the network, I have no network switch. So later, I'm going to set this one. I'll go to next now. Now it asks me what do you want to do. Of course, I don't have an existing virtual hard disk, or I cannot attach a virtual hard disk later. It is just I do not want to do that, so I'm going actually to create my virtual hard disk right away. But here the size is 127, it's too much. So for me, I'm going to make it 40 gigabyte. You might ask, why do I make it as a 40 gigabyte while the recommendation is less more? I mean the minimum. The recommendation is 40, but the minimum is about 10 gigabyte for Windows 2008 R2. The reason is because this one is going to be later to be used as a source, let us say virtual machine. So I might create new virtual machines using it, and on those virtual machines I might need to install, in addition to the operating system of Server 2008, I might need to use some other heavy, uh, let us say, applications or services like Exchange Server, System Center Configuration Manager, Operation Manager, and so on. So I'll just, let us say, calculate what I might need for the future. So I'm going to say 40 gigabyte for the hard disk. I'll go to next. For the operating system, I can immediately say where is my ISO image, or I can use if there is a virtual hard disk that is already ready, or virtual floppy disk which is already ready, I can go with it. But this one, no one is going to use it, specifically in these days. So I'll go with install operating system for a bootable DVD RAM and go to image file. And from image file, I'll go to my H drive and in here I'll pick my server 2008 R2. This is open, so here is my image. I'll go to next, and as you see, those are the settings for my virtual machine, and I'll go to finish. So my first virtual machine is created. I'm going to add also the same for 2012 R2 and 2016, then back to you. So now as you see, I have all my ISO images ready, but before I start to connect to them, I can just double click on any one of them to connect, and then I can start to boot it from here. Before I will do that, I will just check the settings to make sure everything is okay. So as you see in the settings, later in Hyper-V section, we'll explain all these options and details. But for now, keep everything as simple as possible. So this is my memory. My processor here, I'll just need to increase it. So I'll have 8 nodes. I'm going to set 4 for my machine. IDE, DVD, SCSI, everything else look fine. I'll go with OK. And now, after we finish the settings for my 2008, I can do the same with other machines, my virtual machines I mean. For those who they are going to use VMware Workstation, you can go just to File and pick New Virtual Machine, and inside here select the typical recommended one to make settings as simple as possible. Where are you going to install? We are going to install from an ISO image. So from here, pick the image you have, come back there, so let us say 2008 R2, add my system detected. I'll go to next. Here it's asking me about the product key, username and password. Don't add anything, keep everything as it. Just from here, select 2008 R2 Enterprise Edition, pick yes. Going to tell you that you left your password blank and later you need to feed it, so it's fine. Here again, I'm going to say this one is 2008 R2, and as we said, this one will be the source. Go to next. And that asks me for the hard disk. I can say it is 40. I'll go to next. Those are the settings. I do not want to run it now, so I'll just uncheck this box. Go to finish. So as you see, this is now my 2008. I'm ready to see the settings. For the settings, the RAM is okay. The processor again, I will make it 2 by 2, which means 4. And again, later we will talk about some advanced features here. We just try now to make it as simple as possible. For the network adapter here, it picked to me, not like Hyper-V here, it picked me automatically the NAT, network address translation, which means it's going to access to my physical machine, and through my real physical machine, this virtual machine can access to the real network. So if I want to keep it like this, or later I will change it to make it for a specific virtual network. Also, we'll talk about that later after we install our machines to know what is the difference. For the other settings, they look fine to me. I will go to OK. So now if you want to go with the installation for the Hyper-V, let us start with it first. I'll go to my 2008 R2. Here I'll just click this button, start. And as you see here, to start to boot my image. And the same for R2, I'll just go to power on this virtual machine, as you say, right click it. So now it's telling me VMware Workstation and Hyper-V are not compatible. Remove the Hyper-V role for the system before running VMware Workstation, which means you cannot install, technically, you can install both of them, VMware and Hyper-V, but they are not going to work at the same time. Hyper-V will work while VMware not. So if you want to activate your VMware, then you need to remove your Hyper-V first. This note, which I just finished this video with, and we continue from there.